Shalom, shalom, shalom. Hey, what's going on? It's Michael Sahno. Welcome to the 12 Cities in Israel podcast. I have the honor of sitting across the table from Molly Livingstone, a stand-up comedian, a blogger, and a alternative thinking consultant, which, oh my gosh, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. Only an alternative thinking consultant could make up that title, just so you know.
No.
It's
Where
just
did you
so
come up
full
with
of
that?
it. Well, I think that it's very important to use improvisation as a tool in life. So I always, when I'm teaching, I say it's not about performing on stage, it's the performing on the stage of life. And so for me, that leads to an alternative way of thinking. Because humans, we like to say no, we like to ask questions, we don't listen, and all the rules of improv reteach us how to actually open our minds, listen to each other, make statements, and say yes. And that's alternative.
So that's awesome because, you know, I know of all the other things you've done in media, and I do know about your comedy, and I've watched some of it, and it's hilarious. And your tales of acclamation are legendary.
Yeah. It's my real life.
And to find out from you right now that stand up apparently is the heart of who you are. That's what it seems like. That's
what my therapist says. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, a little bit about you. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in LA, right? So that makes sense that then I'm in stand-up. I think from basically a very young age, I wanted to be a movie star. I didn't want to be an actor because the actor that I knew was my substitute teacher because he couldn't get work, right? So I knew that you had to really aim very high. And I just wanted it so badly. But also I didn't do well with rejection. And so you do get rejected a lot and you're supposed to be like, screw them. They didn't know anything. But I took it really personally every time. And so my dad, who was my manager, and he was my man. Yes.
I'm sorry. That's a joke in itself. I apologize.
You have like the Kardashians with the momager, right? So my dad was definitely in it for the money. Let's be very clear. He is a Jewish man that grew up in like post World War II. He was like, I'm doing this so that I get the full 15%. I'm like, isn't it 10? He's like, 15%. So he saw my soul was being crushed. So I always steered around comedy and acting, and I did it. I was always involved. I went to a musical high school, Hamilton High School. They had a music program where it was like fame. So I majored in drama.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't want to hear me sing. Even the shower turns off when I sing. And I just kept going with it. And my dad encouraged me to be a lawyer. Again, he said you can perform and act.
Did he still want the 15%?
Oh, always. That was always very clear. And I didn't want to do a 3-day bar test, so that was out. So I veered into journalism, and I did that for a while. And I really like the journalism aspect of the performing and the hosting, and then always comedy in the background. So I did stand-up, improv, storytelling, all of it.
Wow. Holy cow.
And when you come to Israel, by the way, all of that is used as your coping mechanisms. Like, that's how you survive, is by laughing at yourself. And so that became really a fundamental part of me.
Well, okay, so you're from LA. You're living the LA Jewish experience.
Okay.
So what, I don't even know what that is.
It's a very Jewish experience. Yeah.
What prompted you to pick up everything and move to an entirely different country?
But this is a sad story, yes.
Oh my God.
So I went to Camp JCA Shalom, which unfortunately was burned down last year in the Malibu fires.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone like I have to sit Shiva for it. That's how it feels. It was really painful. I did write a blog about that, by the way, for the Camp Foundation. So I went there my whole life, and camp helped me define who me is. Because school was like, but camp, one day of camp was who you were going to be. And I had these very significant counselors who were mentors. Okay. And then I became a counselor, and they were higher up on the ladder. One of them was Marla Bennett, Marla Bennett was studying in Israel at Pardes and Hebrew University. And she came back and she said, anyone want to do a bar bat mitzvah that never did one? And I was like, oh, I never did one. I was that kid that was like, I don't care if I get presents. I don't believe in like Judaism yet and da-da-da-da. So I didn't have a bat mitzvah. And so at 18 at camp, she did that for me. And when we were studying, I would say that she loved Israel. And I could see Jerusalem stone in her eyes, but I had never seen Jerusalem stone, but I could see it. So I wanted to visit her. And then the Intifada broke out, and I was like, I'm good right here. I'll come next year, and you'll be back. But Marla never came back because Marla was killed in the bombing in 2002 at Hebrew University, the day before she was supposed to come back to camp.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So, see, I told you it was going to be a sad story. Because of that, I felt I owed it to her to go to Israel and see what it was that compelled her to love this country and feel so good about being a Jew and Jewish peoplehood. And so I did. I went on Birthright. I did hike and bike. And I don't know if I fell off the bike too many times, but I fell in love with the country. And the way I describe it to people is like, it's like when you fall in love, because that person isn't the funniest, smartest, right? But for you, they are all of those things. And so Israel, it's that complicated. I love you. I live for you. I hate you because it's so close, love and hate. I want to fix you. I want to make you better. I want you to make me better. It's a love story. And so I had this hole in my heart now after Birthright, probably from all the drinking. And then I had to come back, and I did an internship. That was my plan. My parents were like, my dad was like, if you went to Paris, you'd feel the same way. Maybe, but I didn't go to Paris. I went to Israel. So I did my internship so that he felt good that I wasn't just going to go off the track. And I did my last semester abroad. I did it at Hebrew University, but I could never, ever go to what I considered a graveyard, which was the Frank Sinatra cafeteria where she, and I think there were a lot of people that died that day. It was international, because it was an international school. So you had a whole international group of people that were attacked that day. And I never went over there. I would walk by it and I would feel like, how are people eating? I mean, of course it was rebuilt. How are they eating on her grave? And then one day my camper, who was now an adult, came to Israel and said, well, I'd like to go see it. And so then I put on my, camp counselor face, and we went in together, and I got past it. But, her favorite book was The Giving Tree. And she was just that. She was such a giving, loving person. And she brought me to Israel, and I got it. And every time I do something good, it's Marla to me. She was the definition of good. And I still am not over it. It's weird. It was 2002.
You don't have to be. Why should you be?
I don't know. I don't know if there should be closure or not to it. But yeah, but that's why I'm here. That is really why I'm here.
Well, it's interesting you say that there should be closure, because there's closure in a way, but there's also remembrance, and remembrance is important. I mean, the entire concept of Yad Vashem falls into line with how you feel about the Frank Sinatra cafeteria. I know it seems like they're not related, but they absolutely are.
Yeah. Well, what's so great about being in Israel and about death like this and being, look, every Israeli probably knows someone that died in a war or a terrorist attack, right? It's just like the sad facts. But yet, what's so amazing about Israeli culture is how much they make fun of these things as a way of surviving, meaning it's very Jewish to be dark. And Israel does it the best because we are the Jewish state, right? So we have to be like the best at making horrible, dark comedy jokes. And so that's where I really found my footing here in Israel. Not to say that I'm like sitting there making fun of, Marla or jokes. Not at all. And not to say that I don't think that, the Holocaust existed or this, or not to take it seriously. In fact, there was a writer, because I really went on a journey with this. And I created a comedy lecture. Why do Israelis laugh about war, terror, and the Holocaust? And I interviewed a writer from Eretz Nehederet, which is like the Daily Show and Saturday Night Live mixed together. And he said, listen, there's nothing funny about the Holocaust, but there is everything funny in surviving it. Boom, Israel.
Wow.
Like, to me, that is what represents Israel. That kind of humor of we own it, it's ours, and we're not gonna hide it. We're gonna expose it. We're gonna make it ours.
Well, because that was one of my questions that I had specifically for you, and it was sorrow, pain, war, all of that. And it's not that we wear it as a badge, because we don't like to see ourselves as victims, but we do celebrate our stepping through it, not stepping past it, but stepping through it.
Exactly.
And
that's
if you,
humor.
But it's everywhere. It's in the art. It's in the poetry. Yes. It's in everything. Why? Why are we able to do that versus other groups who may not be able to do it?
Why do Jews run Hollywood? Yes. I think that I don't know. It's a really good question. I feel like Jews, I can't speak for, I don't know what Christians feel, but I feel like we are very vulnerable and we'll put ourselves out there a lot more. Like, all Jewish comedian male writers know they have tiny penises, and the only way they're gonna have girlfriends is because they're Jewish. They're writers, sorry, not Jewish, because they're comedy writers. They know it and they put it out there, and they're not afraid of kind of boasting their weaker elements. They use it to their advantage.
Okay.
And so I think that maybe we do that as a peoplehood. Maybe we take it even. So when I was researching, even in the Holocaust, they had to perform shows for the Nazis, right? At the end of the day, the Nazis wanted entertainment.
Wow.
Yeah. And so what they would do is they put inside jokes into the performances. And that is power. They could never take that away from us. And we could get the jokes and they weren't in on it. And that was our power. So we were vulnerable to who we were. We were honest, and that gave us community and gave us strength. Not that we won the Holocaust because we were funny, because we didn't. But it was a lot of other weaponry, So
no, definitely. Now, in line with that, there is, and I specifically remember an instance when I was at Ulpan down at Ben Gurion University, and there was an off-color Holocaust joke from an Israeli.
Yep.
When we were we had taken a trip to Har Herzl, and
which Har Herzl for everyone is the war cemetery.
Yeah. So we had a lot of students who were just American students who I can't believe this. There were a lot of complaints, and people turned to these students, staff, and said, "You don't get it."
Yep.
So, in line with that kind of culture shock for them who came to Israel, what was it like for you, culture shock wise? Was this something that you had never experienced before? And if so, if it didn't shock you too much, what were some things that...
Look, I did a comedy show last night here at the Dancing Camel in Tel Aviv.
That I missed. I was invited. I had technical difficulties. Sorry.
That's what you say. You were washing your hair. So one of the comedians, the host, did a joke about Kobe Bryant, and it fell flat on the audience because there were a lot of Americans, and for them, it's too soon. Mm-hmm. The same question came up in 9/11, right? When do we start making fun of that? How soon after? And in Israel, because it's always constantly happening, the answer is just tomorrow, today, whatever you want. You just got to get through it, through the humor. It's not that these Israelis are being horrible, insensitive people. They are coping. If you look at it like that, we are coping. That's why Israel's actually one of the happiest countries in the world. It makes no sense. You're constantly at war. There's terror attacks. Everyone hates you. They're BDSing everything. And yet the people are happy. And Yeh Beseder, it will be okay. Why? Because we cope. And the way we cope is that we laugh and we live for the moment, right? So that's what we're doing. And that's what this soldier, I assumed he was a soldier, the Israeli, but at Har Herzl. No, because my story was that, I'm on Birthright and Yad Vashem. And it's such a powerful moment. And they do make the soldiers who are on the trip with you wear a uniform when they go to these two places, Har Herzl and Yad Vashem. And one of them turns around and I think he's going to be so profound because they are more mature. You know, like I'm a 20-year-old dummy in college. Like I might be smart on the books, but I don't know how to be independent. This kid is 20 and he holds a gun every single day of his life and has to defend a country.
Wow.
And so he turns to me and he says, Molly, I'm like, yeah? Do you want to hear a Holocaust joke? I'm like, what? We're in Yad Vashem. The shoes are right over there. And it was shocking. Or another example I give when I talk about this in the lecture is I was on a bus, terrifying, intifada. I mean, boom, everything's blowing up left and right, the cafes, the buses. And I get off and one of the Israelis says to me, your phone is the bomb. And I'm like, excuse me, my phone is the bomb? Why would they do this to me? Like, can you take it apart? I heard Israelis are smart. Like, why? And he was using the catchphrase from the 90s in like 2005, which I guess it took 15 years to make it over here. And he was joking, like he was being funny, right? He's like, the bomb, the bomb. And I'm like literally pooping myself like this. You can't make this kind of a joke, but you can and you must. And now here's where I am today, right? Like I was at a party at WeWork and they had sushi everywhere, but they were giving speeches, so you're not allowed to take it. And we're just like all Pavlovian dogs, like, I want the sushi. And there was the people in the back, and they started taking it. And I like go to a total stranger. I'm like, hey, those are the ones that would have survived the Holocaust. And he's like, what? And I'm like, oh, okay, right. Just don't go up to strangers that make Holocaust jokes. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And another great one was recently, like a couple months ago, it's so hard to remember. There was like a flare up of rockets.
That
Someone
little
did
thing,
something,
yeah.
And then and there was a guy. These Israelis fear nothing. The only thing they fear is snow. Okay, just make that very clear. Hamas, if you're listening, please do not start shooting snow at us. We will be gone. You will get the Jews in the sea. So, anyways, there were rockets. Okay. And they like to film the rockets because they're not afraid of them. They're flying trash cans for them. Okay, they're like full of shrapnel crap. And so these Tel Avivians are filming a rocket flying over, and there's a siren, right? Mm-hmm. Now, one poor fool thinks the siren is for Yom HaShoah, for the Holocaust Day, because we use that siren to stand still and remember for.
Was it at the same time?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It's in April, and this was like, I think October, November. And they're laughing at this idiot. He's out of his car. He should be down on the ground holding his head. And they're like, Adon, like, sir, it's not Holocaust Day. And he's so standing so still, so beautiful. And it's a real siren. Like, this is an actual attack. It's not Holocaust. And it's so funny. It's so funny. And I'm not laughing at this man. I'm laughing very hard at this man. Yeah. You know?
So it's these stories and these instances that made me absolutely fall in love with your show and fall in love with listening to you. You guys were my laundry. Okay.
Oh my
and what I'm going to tell you is the 5 at 5, right? That was the name of the show. The 5 at 5 was on every day, but it was put up on YouTube, and I would watch it and fold all the laundry because I was a stay-at-home dad at the time. And how did you wind up at the Voice of Israel?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I had done the Big Falafel, and I had dabbled all over with improv and everything, and then they were putting together this.
Well, do you want to step back and tell us what the Big Falafel is?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So I got into blogging when blogging just started. So for the like what are they? Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Suck It? I can't remember. Blogging wasn't just like a normal thing we all did, right? Mm-hmm. And it was starting up, and me and my friend Rebecca Markowitz, it was really her idea. She was like, there's no information out there, especially for new immigrants here in Israel, and I want to inform people. And I was like, that's great. I don't want to inform people. I just want to tell them about what's really happening. And she's like, I think we're saying the same thing. So she would give like the tachlis, the real information. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like 15 ways to get your driver's license in Israel. Really important. And then I would write about how dumb the test was. You know what I mean? And I think both of them were equally as important.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's where it started from, the Big Falafel. She took that from Jon Stewart from The Daily Show.
Okay.
One time he had said something like, from the Big Apple to the Big Falafel. And she was like, yeah, I like that.
Mine.
So we used it, and we were the only ones kind of out there doing it. So people really responded well to it. They appreciated the information. And then when this came up for Voice of Israel, and they were looking for someone, you know, to have a balance with a woman and someone different, so they approached me again. And so I took the Big Falafel from paper or internet to radio.
Wow.
And it was totally exciting because I studied journalism. My first day of school at Emerson in Boston was September 11th, 2001.
Yay. How about that?
Watching that in Journalism 101, it was pretty dramatic watching the second plane. You know, I got into the elevator, people were like, some idiot hit the, you know, Twin Towers, like they crashed into it. We thought it was an accident.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to class, it was very clear that this was deliberate, and now we were watching the second one. And my teacher came in and he's like, welcome to Journalism 101. Class dismissed. And we're like, oh.
Intense.
Yeah. So I have a passion for journalism because I'm a storyteller, right? I really want to tell the story all the time. And so I got to actually then become a host of the Big Falafel, and it was given to me to also produce it. Like I had a producer, but it was my ideas, whatever I wanted to bring to the table. It was so exciting. It was like, for me, it was my dream job. In the dream location, biked to work in a beautiful place with crazy people that I worked with. Crazy people. I mean, ideas would come up, and like we take it to the next level every time. And then I got to do the same thing. Like I'd be like, I want to interview someone that's into coexistence, and then like I'd find some Egyptian who's been arrested for wearing an IDF shirt in Egypt on TV. And
really?
Yeah, that's Ahmed Magili, I think he is. So like, and I could interview him, and I would get him on the phone, and I was like, he's like, are you working for Mossad? I'm like, I don't think so. Actually, I tried to apply for Mossad, just so you know, and this is why I don't get hired, because I've literally told every single person that I applied, and it was like from a Facebook ad. So really, there was never going to be a chance for me. They were like, what would be the best quality you could bring to the table as a Mossad agent? And I'm like, I'm a very good liar. Which I am. Improv is, I teach kids. I'm like, you guys want to learn how to lie really well? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, good. That's what we're going to do today.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, I had all this freedom to do whatever I wanted, to interview whoever I wanted, whether it be about pluralism within Judaism or the coexistence, the real Israel, the Israel I saw on a daily basis that I didn't feel was ever making the news. And I'm not sure to this day still does. And that's what I was doing.
That's phenomenal. That is amazing. And the thing that I liked about it the most is you were that divergent opinion.
Yeah.
You were that.
Isn't that fun for me?
Oh, I am so sorry for and some of those episodes were pretty harsh, but
Yeah.
but you stood your ground, and that was absolutely impressive.
Yeah.
You never cowered, and some of
No.
these people had really intense personalities.
Oh, yeah. We would like go to break. I don't know if they showed breaks, but
No.
like it would be very intense in that room. Like there was no, it was like, why would you say that? I think break was just where we could actually curse, you know, and say, it was the same thing except with bad words mixed in. And that
Oh my
was,
gosh.
yeah, it was really intense. But always afterwards you go back and you're fine.
But
with
you would
each
always
other.
show back up. So, I mean,
Yeah, well,
there you
what
go.
Again, that's the same question my therapist asked me. Why did you keep going back, Molly? I don't know. Yeah.
So after Voice of Israel went to the side, what
very
happened?
sad.
What did you do?
That was tough because it was, as I said, my dream job.
And from what I understand, I don't mean to interrupt, it was sudden. It was.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Like I describe it to people as like my coffee cup was still on the table. My sweater was on the back of the chair. I was not prepared for what was coming. I was a little bit in denial because we kind of knew we weren't getting paid and we're like, something's weird. But I loved what I was doing so much. I couldn't look at it. you know?
Yeah.
And then there was talk about a 2.0 and there was talk about something else. And I did go on to do other projects that were trying to do similar things. There was Full Frame Media. So they took the same idea, the Big Falafel, and then they made it like a 10-minute web series. And then that lost funding. You know, it's just like everything loses funding.
Okay. Now, I do all of this out of pocket. It's an expense.
Yeah.
It really is.
That must be, yes.
But I am here to tell you that you need to get back on YouTube because it is such a fun, exciting, vibrant little journey that you take people on. And it's got your flavor to it. You know how water just tastes like water, but this tastes like, wow. And that's exactly what it is. It's because you can go on, and that's one of my criticisms of some of the English language Israeli television, is that it's a little static, and you don't have that staticky cling.
Thank you.
And so, please, have you thought about it? Have you thought about reviving it?
So also, was it last year or 2 years ago? There's the Mideast Beast, which is like the Onion online, like it's satirical magazine. And then they did a podcast and I was on that. So I was doing that. Yeah, I would like to do it. I would really, really like to do it. It's hard, but I want to do it because I think it's so necessary. And I think that there are just experiences that I want people to experience. I don't know if with me, through me, but yeah.
So here's the thing, and here's a deal I'll make with you, and it's on camera. So
it's real.
Absolutely. I have access through some of my sponsors to equipment and gear and stuff like that. Anything you need, you let me know. We'll get the best price for you. If we can, we'll give it to you.
Yeah, I need a jet.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I got to get mine first. That's after my Goldie looking chain.
Ooh.
Big old Magen David, like subliminal.
I want like a gold tooth then. I'm always going to try to one up you. Yeah.
Thanks. Wow.
See why I keep coming back. Yeah.
Now, the Big Falafel, it's on your radar. It's something you'd like to continue.
Yeah.
What about a podcast?
Yeah.
Podcast, they're easy.
Yeah.
You set up a space, you drop the mic down, and then you go. Yeah. Have you thought about it? You said you've been on a number of them.
Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes, I want to do it. And actually, I want to do it. I had a friend that I made that he was a reporter at Voice of Israel.
I have a friend that I made.
I know.
I have a friend that I made.
It's invisible. Raoul Wootliff. Okay. He was one of the reporters, and he was also one of the more liberal people there. So we would like cower in a corner and be like, "Why are they hurting us all the time? They're so mean." He was British, so his voice was very attractive on air. Like you would listen to him more than me, although I do have a sex operator voice, right? Or sometimes people say it's a cartoon voice, which makes me concerned that they would both be the same thing. But I really would like to do stuff with him because I think he's like that Rebecca for me. He brings all the knowledge. Right now, he's a Times of Israel correspondent, political correspondent. He's so funny. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on air, but he's figured out how to bring marijuana into the Knesset. And I'm like, please write about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
But by the way, just so you know, there's the Green Party. And he would say, like, he thought he was cool. But then the Green Party was at the Knesset. And, like, literally, they're just all vaping inside the room. Like, what's up? So he was like, oh, you guys figured this out, too. Really well. But he's like that kind of person. He has both sides. He knows all the political. He knows it all. He's interviewed everybody. He has all the knowledge. And then he also has the back end of like what's really going on, which I think is interesting. So that's why I would team up with him.
And you guys could bounce off of each other. I think that'd be really good based on what you've said. That sounds.
And then I would make him like get people to do the interviews. I'd be like, I want this person, but then he would do the work. And I would ask the questions. So that would be really great.
Oh, that's.
A party foul.
Yeah, that's. Apologize. Sorry about that.
That was Raoul calling me. You can't bloody say that about me. I don't smoke pot. Because they haven't given me my card. That was a horrible British accent. My dad's British.
So wait a minute. Can you do that here now?
Smoke pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
Actually,
don't say yeah, of course, because a lot of people don't know.
I mean, if people can see I'm 9 months pregnant, they'll get really angry if I'm like, yeah, of course, I just did. No. They're trying to legalize it. Okay. I think they decriminalized it.
That's what I had heard.
Yeah. And Israel actually is one of the fastest growing, like, pot creators. That's not a real word, but like for Startup Nation, we've like made new kinds of THC. I don't know all the
because we're really good at that.
Yeah, we're really good at that. It's really honestly true. And so we will survive never again with the pot. The pot will bring us where we need to go. It's the pot of gold. It is.
Thank you for this. What are you? What are your future plans, if you don't mind?
Like, what am I doing later today? Are you asking me
let's look a little more long term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have this baby. She's very low already.
Aww.
This is my 4th.
Mazel tov.
Thank you so much. I did stand up last night, which was interesting because I thought the punchline would be like a crowning of the head. But it wasn't. It wasn't. But I talked all about my vagina, and there were a lot of yeshiva boys. And I was like, I feel weird, but also excited to do this in front of you. And then we were talking off camera, and I was saying how, you know, words like vagina. I'm gonna like take a left when you wanted me to go right now. But I just wanted to go back to a little bit of culture because I've learned within Judaism and Hebrew, like there's all this weird stuff happening. For example, because you said you were in Ulpan learning Hebrew, right?
Yes.
So there's the shit they teach in Ulpan, which doesn't help anybody, by the way. Like, I've tried. I used to be like, I'll go up to this guy at the bank because I'm going to be number 1008, even though it only goes to 100, right? And then I'll have the wrong papers, and then they'll ask me to fax it, and I'll cry, and I'll scream, and there'll be like a Molly shaped through the glass door when I run through it, and then they'll be on... Okay. Anyways, the point is that I was going to be brave and tap a guy and ask him where he's from. And I said, Me'ainata. And that's what they teach you in Ulpan. Where are you from? Oh, they don't even teach you that anymore. They taught me that. Me'ainata. So my husband, who's an archaeologist, literally was like, they have not used that since the Second Temple period, and you need to stop. It's Me'efota. Okay? Like, but that's what they're teaching in Ulpan. So then you get out into the real world, and if you're brave enough, you start to try to speak Hebrew with a horrible, thick American accent, with an ayin that will never exist because it's in a black hole at the end of your throat as an Anglo. And you get out there, and you start to learn stuff. So I learned, like, your vagina is called a nartik. Not your vagina, mine.
And today on Chamesh B'Chamesh, go on.
Okay, a nartik. A nartik is also a cell phone case. What? It makes sense. I mean, in an offensive way. Your vagina is a case. That's what we're telling you. Your vagina is a case. But like, that's amazing. Like, it's so crazy. It's such good material. Or like when my son goes to a religious school, which he probably didn't realize by everything I've said up until now. And for first grade, you have to wear the religious paraphernalia, right? You got your kippah and you got your, whatever they're called.
Tzitzit.
Okay, good. Thank you. You led right into the joke because when I asked the rabbi for them, I asked for tzitzim. Tzitzim gedolim. Tzitzim are not tzitzit. Very close. But tzitzim are boobs. So I was asking a rabbi for big boobs. I kept showing him big boobs. Tzitzim gedolim. Tzitzim gedolim. I'm trying to get my first grader big boobs. So he was like concerned, like, is she having a seizure? What's up, right? This is constantly my battle. So it's like these words and this culture, I'm always just a little bit wrong on the outside. I married a Yemenite. Why? Why would I do that? My name is not Molly. It's Muli here. His last name is Tanami with the Ayin. So I'm Muli Tanami, which is Chinese food. Like, it's just, it's all too much. So what were you saying? My future, because that's my past, present, and probably my future. My future is pretty wide open. I mean, it's pretty exciting.
Okay.
I want to do these things. You know, I have ideas. I think comedy is a very powerful tool. It's a healing tool. So part of me wants to do like a wellness center that's based off of fun, Pure fun. And have it be in Israel. I want people to, and actually in Jerusalem, because I want people to come to Jerusalem, not just because it's the holiest city, but because they're going to go to a wellness center that's fun. And fun for adults. Like, I want us having pillow fights. I want pancakes shaped in whatever animal of your choice. Like, that's what I want. I want us to have fun. That's what comedy does. It's fun. So that's like something. And then I was like also thinking of a Tinder for comedians, which sounds dirtier than it actually is. It's more like helping patients who, medical clowns scare me.
Clowns scare everyone.
They're all terrifying. So, but humor is great for healing. So you would kind of be like, if you were a friend of your friend who's sick in the hospital and you want them to get someone funny here, but you know she doesn't like slapstick. She's not going to do the Holocaust humor. Here's someone. So it's like a swipe right on this comedian. And then the comedian would come in and do shtick, like just talk to your friend in a funny way.
That's phenomenal. That's fun.
So those are like, I think I always have ideas floating around.
Okay.
Improv. Improv is huge for me, teaching the rules of improv, especially to the youth, to give them confidence. And to make them listen, because we're not listening anymore. I hope people are listening to this podcast.
Well, that's the purpose of this, is to get people to start to converse.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to put all of your social media stuff in the description of the YouTube video.
Okay, great.
Molly,
people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Are there any events coming up that you want to plug real quick?
Well, I had my show last night, so that's over. Not right now, but now you got my juices flowing. I need to make an event, don't
All right.
I?
Yes, you do, and I'll put it in there. Okay?
That's what she said. Good.
All right, that's it.
He's too embarrassed to end the show. It's no good.
No, that was so good.
את זוכרת איך בכית אליי